Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for a story? Well, I am. And it's been quite a while since I've told a story. It's been like about 4 weeks. And that's because the stories have been put away while the storyteller has been very, very busy. I think when I have time to unpack what's been happening, there might be a few gems of stories that come out. But today, tonight, this morning, wherever you are in the world, I have one story which has been sitting there for a little while, and it's a story about two little girls who are growing very quickly. One of them is called Camilla, and the other one is called Delilah. And this story is about how they saved all the animals in England. Shall we start? Once upon a time, there were two girls who lived on the same street in a place called Greenwich in England. They'd grown up together, and they were still growing up together when the story was told. And you know what? They lived in a fantastic country called England. And England was part of Great Britain, or the UK, or a few other names that lots of people get confused when you visit them around the world. And it's an island. Would you believe it? It's so big when you're so small that you wouldn't even think it's surrounded by water. But it is. And that means that if you want to go somewhere that's not England, you have to take a boat. Or these days, you can take a plane and even travel under the water in a train. That's right. And now, long time ago, people in England couldn't go anywhere because they didn't have boats. So they had to stay there. And they had to do everything. And they could only eat what they grew and had on the land. And so the animals they had, and the food and fruit and vegetables and everything they drank, all came from England. As time went on, and people were able to travel across the oceans and the seas, we started to get some other kinds of foods and fruits and all sorts of things. And sooner or later, we had candy and pizzas and curry and spaghetti and burgers and you name it, because the world got smaller and smaller. Well, it didn't really get smaller and smaller, but that's what grown-ups say, because people were able to travel around and bring things and take things and sell things and you name it, we had everything. Until one day, something terrible happened. You see, up until that point, without anybody in the country realizing it, people and children slowly stopped eating their vegetables. They were so interested and so intrigued and so hooked on candy and fast foods that they didn't want to eat vegetables anymore, like carrots and peas and broccoli and cucumbers and sprouts and all those green and orange things. I mean, what kind of a person would want to eat those things? Those things are for rabbits and horses. And there is where the story starts. As Camilla and Delilah were sitting in their bedroom, talking about how on earth horses got so big by just eating dry grass, and how little rabbits don't grow very much, even though they eat carrots, they couldn't really work it out. And anyway, why would these animals like to eat carrots and dry grass when you could eat chocolate? And then they remembered when they stole the chocolate cake and ate it underneath the table and got it all over the face. As they were giggling and rolling on the floor, there was a knock at the door. "Oh," said Camilla, rolling her eyes. "That must be Bella looking for her phone again. She's always losing it." The knock at the door came and it got pushed open, and it was Bella. "Have you seen my phone?" "No, it's probably on your desk where you left it last time." "No, it isn't." "What do you need it for? Are you going on Facebook again?" I don't know why you use that all the time. No, it's about the news. Have you not seen the news? Said Bella. What's that? Come and have a look. So all three of them ran down the stairs as quickly as they could, and in the living room was Mummy and Daddy watching the TV. On the TV, there was a big announcement saying, "No more vegetables. Animals are in danger." What does that mean? It means that there's no more people growing vegetables for all the animals. Oh my gosh. Well, why don't we get some vegetables from the other countries? Well, that's another story in itself. The Juicy Drop gang have blocked all the vegetables from coming into England, and they're just sending candy now. I can't believe it, said Camilla's dad. What are you guys going to eat for your school lunch? Camilla looked at Delilah with a sparkle in her eye as they imagined eating candy and push pops and juicy drops and chocolate eggs and all sorts for their school lunch. That's amazing. But then they thought about Rambo, the kitten, and Maureen, the dog, and the rabbits and the horses. What were they going to eat? What happens if they've got no food? We can't give candy to a dog, or a rabbit, or a horse for that matter, or even my kitten. Just then, Camilla's mom said, "You two, pipe down a bit. We're trying to listen to the news." And so they all sat on the sofa and turned the volume up. The man on the telly said that scientists had said that it seems that over the past few months and years, people have stopped sharing, and people have stopped wanting to eat vegetables, and so people have stopped wanting to grow them, and so there's no more vegetables left in England. And that's only half of the bad news. It turns out that there's a Juicy Drop gang in Europe, which is all the countries around England, and they have blocked all the vegetables from coming in to England, and that they're only sending big containers of candy and chocolates and sweets, but no vegetables, not even any fruits. Daddy looked at Mom and said, "Well, there goes your mangoes and your pineapples. And forget about your banana split this Sunday." And so Daddy told Bella to run down to the shop as quickly as possible and buy up all the tins of beans and peas that she could carry. And so she set off. They looked back at the telly, and the announcer, the man on the telly, said again, "Other scientists say that the Juicy Drop gang are trying to teach people in England a lesson for being so lazy with their food and for not sharing and for not wanting to eat their vegetables. He says they're going to send all this candy and make us fat and let our teeth fall out, and then we'll learn a lesson." "Well, I never," said Camilla. "We have to do something." And so Camilla and Delilah ran back upstairs, and they sat down with Rambo, and they started to make a plan. As they were making a plan, they heard some crying downstairs. Camilla had come back with only a tin of beans. She'd been to the shop, where she'd met Elodie, who got there a bit earlier and managed to get a tin of beans with the sausages in. And apparently the man in the shop had said, 1 tin per household. We're doing rations, you see. "What's a ration?" "Well," said Bella, "that's when the people share all the food equally or give little bits because there's not much left." "Well, I don't like that idea much. Can we not go and get some more?" "No, we can't. It's only fair." "Oh, well, how are we all going to eat 1 tin of beans?" "Well, exactly," said Daddy. "We have to work something out." And then Camilla and Delilah remembered at school one day when they were sitting next to each other, because they always sat next to each other at school, and they were always mistaken for twins. "Are you two twins?" lots of teachers said, especially the new teachers that came in. "Oh, are you twins?" "No, we're not twins." "Oh, well, you're joined at the hip." "Yes, we are." And so, anyway, back to the story. They remembered that the teacher was telling them about growing some plants in the shade and growing seeds and stuff like that. I know, said Delilah. Let's grow some seeds. And so they ran downstairs and got to ask Mommy and Daddy about some seeds. Oh, we haven't got any. Where can we buy some? Well, let's have a look. And so they jumped in the car and Daddy drove them down to the shop where they sold the seeds. And they bought lots and lots and lots and lots of seeds for vegetables. Carrots and cucumbers and broccoli and sprouts and all kinds of stuff. And they drove back and they planted them by the instructions. And they sat there. How long does it take a broccoli to grow? Said Camilla. I don't know. Maybe a couple of hours, said Delilah. And what about these carrots? I'm hungry. You think I'll be able to have them for dinner time? Maybe. Just then, Mom came in and said, What are you two doing staring at those plant balls? We're waiting for the broccoli. Oh, don't be silly. It's going to take weeks and months. By that time, I think that there may be no animals left in England. What about Rambo? What about Maureen? The girls said, and they started to feel very, very sad. We've got to do something. And so Camilla and Delilah jumped up and ran down the stairs again. They asked Daddy if they could be taken to the school. What do you want to go to school for on a Saturday? Because we have an idea. And so Daddy took them down to the school, where they went in, and as there was always a cleaner there on a Saturday, they asked the cleaner to take them up to the bell tower. This was an old school that had a big bell tower, and during the break times, the headmaster would ring the bell, and all the children would come in for the break, or go out for the break, or come in for the food, go out for the break. And the girls climbed right up to the top and started to ring the bell. Well, nobody had ever heard the bell being rung on a Saturday, and so all the people from around the school looked out the window and went, Who's ringing the bell? And one by one, people started to gather around the school, and soon there were hundreds and hundreds of people all around the school. And then Camilla and Delilah stepped out onto the balcony, and they shouted, Have you seen the telly? And they all went, Yes. Do you want to have juicy drops for your food on Monday? No way. Are you not scared that all the animals might die if we don't do something? Yes. Then we have an idea. What's the idea? All the people shouted. Well, said Camilla, we can grow our own vegetables. What's that? All the people shouted. You see, it had been such a long time since anybody had grown their vegetables that they didn't know what to do. But Camilla and Delilah had remembered their class at school, and so they told everybody around how to grow their own vegetables. And you see, because nobody had tried to grow their own vegetables, the shop that sold all the seeds was full of seeds. And seeds, being seeds, they last a very, very, very long time, hundreds and thousands of years even. And so you can get a very old seed and put it in the ground, and it'll grow. Or you can get a seed and leave it there in its container, if it's in one, for hundreds of years maybe, and then put it in the ground, and it'll grow. And so Camilla and Delilah had to teach all the people in England how to grow their own vegetables. And they remembered a history class where they said a long time ago everybody in England grew their own vegetables because they couldn't get anything from anywhere else, because they didn't have boats or aeroplanes or helicopters or trains under the sea. So why don't we just do that? Everybody was so amazed by this idea that they all went out and they started to buy the seeds and plant them. But what about the time it takes for them to grow? Aha, said Camilla. I have an idea as well. Please share it with us. It's called rationing. What's that? You see, it's also been a long time since people had to ration things, which is a kind of a proper word for sharing properly. Rationing is where we take what we have and we give it to everybody equally so that we use it sparingly and try and save it as much as possible. My sister told me when she came back with a tin of beans from the shop. Oh, okay, And so all the shops, all the people with like tins of vegetables and frozen vegetables and everything like that, gathered them together and they shared them out equally among all the people in England. And you know what? All the shops and everybody had enough food to last 3, 4, even 6 months. Oh my gosh, are we wasting all this food if we don't eat it? Thought Camilla. Yeah, it seems like it, said Delilah. So everybody in England started to plant their own vegetables and carrots and cucumbers and all that kind of stuff. And as they were waiting for them to grow, they shared all the food equally so that nobody went hungry, especially the rabbits and dogs and Rambo the kitten and Maureen and the horses as well. You see, horses are big and they need lots of vegetables. And so that was how Camilla and Delilah helped save all the animals in England and got England people, or English people, to start to grow their own food again. Now this didn't make the Juicy Drop gang very, very happy. In fact, they were very, very angry. They had been sending container ships full of Juicy Drops for days and days now. But the people in England didn't need them, and they were just sending them back. And soon, the Juicy Drop gang had so many Juicy Drops coming back that they got sick. And actually, they all disappeared under a mountain of Juicy Drops. And that summer, where the Juicy Drop gang lived was so hot, all the Juicy Drops melted, and it made a river of Juicy Drops, which washed away all the gang of Juicy Drops. When the river had dried up, it was a bit sticky, and nobody really went there, so that was the end of them. And after a while, even when all the vegetables and things started to come back into England from the other countries, British people or English people or people from England, they didn't really fancy those because they had grown their own. And they'd come to realise that growing things by yourself and sharing things equally and being kind to people that you grow up with and that you live on the same road as and that you sometimes fight with, even though you're so close, is better than bringing in, like, vegetables from other places. It's nice to do that as well, and you should do it. But if you can do it by yourself, well, that's a good thing as well. And so, Camilla and Delilah were the champions of England for growing your own vegetables. And England became the best place for horses and rabbits and dogs and cats. And even though they were the champions of growing their own vegetables, they still loved to eat chocolate cake. And sometimes they would steal it and eat it under the table. The end.